Bubba Wallace just shocked NASCAR, and no one saw it coming. After 100 races of heartbreak, after nearly 3 years without a single win, after being called every name in the book, from overrated to washed, Bubba Wallace just pulled off the impossible. He beat Kyle Larson at the Brickyard in double overtime. This wasn't just a race. This was a statement, a slap in the face to every doubter who said he couldn't do it. And it happened in one of the biggest races on the calendar, the legendary Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let me explain how Bubba Wallace turned pain into power. It started like every other race for Wallace lately, pressure everywhere. He was sitting right on the playoff bubble. The clock was ticking, and he hadn't won since Kansas in September of 2022. People were starting to wonder if he'd ever win again. But on that Sunday, the Brickyard turned into his battlefield. And Wallace? He came out swinging. The day began with chaos, wrecks, rain, blown tires, and more strategy changes than you could count. Big names like Ross Chastain were out early. Ryan Blaney had to pit under closed conditions. Even Joey Logano lost the lead thanks to a flat tire. It was that kind of race, unpredictable, brutal, classic NASCAR. And through it all, Wallace stayed calm, focused, quietly climbing, quietly saving fuel. And when the final stage hit, he was right there, in the fight of his life. Kyle Larson had the speed. He was slashing Wallace's lead in the closing laps, cutting seconds like a shark smelling blood. Then came the rain, a red flag, and suddenly, double overtime. 2 chances for Larson to strike, 2 chances for Bubba to fold. But Wallace? He didn't blink, not once. On both restarts, Wallace cleared Larson before the backstretch. Not once, twice. Perfect execution, cold-blooded racing. Everyone was praying his tank wouldn't run dry, and somehow it didn't. Wallace took the white flag, and then the checkered. And just like that, the longest drought of his career ended in the most dramatic way possible. He broke down at the finish, exhausted, emotional, in disbelief. "I'm worn out," he said. "I thought of everything besides driving a race car during that red flag. This is for my son Bex. Welcome to victory lane." But that was just the beginning of the storm. Because this win, it wasn't just a personal triumph, it was history. Bubba Wallace became the first black driver to ever win the Brickyard 400, a race that legends have fought over, a race where every lap feels like a war zone. And now, Bubba's name is in the history books. The crowd? They erupted. "Bubba! Bubba! Bubba!" echoed from the grandstands. Even his crew chief got chants of "Freddie! Freddie! Freddie!" as he ran out to celebrate. This wasn't a fluke. It wasn't handed to him. He led 30 laps, including the final 26. And if you thought there'd be beef after that hard-fought finish, think again. Because what happened next might shock you even more. Kyle Larson, the guy Bubba beat head-to-head, sought him out on pit road, shook his hand, congratulated him. Pure respect. And Wallace? He didn't hide how much that meant. "Game recognizes game," he said with a smile. "I respect the hell out of what Larson does. I've said it before. You can't be jealous of someone else's success. You just have to work harder to get to where they're at." And today, it paid off. Larson didn't hold back either. "There's nothing I could have done differently," he admitted. He had the inside line, and it's almost impossible to beat that here. "I wish I was kissing the bricks again, but Bubba earned that." Respect. Real, raw respect. On one of the biggest stages in NASCAR. But that's not where this story ends. Because behind the scenes, this win came at a critical moment for Bubba Wallace and for 23XI Racing. They're in the middle of a lawsuit with NASCAR. There's tension, pressure, noise. But on this day, they blocked all of that out and won anyway. Wallace said it best. "To win here, knowing all the noise that's going on in the background, it's a testament to this team. It's been getting old running on the cut line." Well, not anymore. Bubba Wallace is locked into the playoffs. He just gave 23XI Racing its first win of the season. And he's no longer chasing the dream. He's living it. You'd think after winning the Brickyard 400, Bubba Wallace would be soaking it all in, taking a deep breath, letting it settle. But that's the thing. This win hit differently. He stood on the bricks, still catching his breath, and then came the call. Michael Jordan, yes, the Michael Jordan, co-owner of 23XI Racing, called Wallace right after the race. "He was just so proud," Wallace said, smiling through the sweat. I told him I wish he was here. He said he's gonna have a drink or two for me tonight. And just like that, it sunk in. This wasn't just a win, it was a legacy moment. For Bubba, for MJ, for the entire team. But for Wallace, it was also deeply personal. This was about redemption. This was about quieting the noise. Because let's not sugarcoat it, Wallace has taken more heat than most drivers in NASCAR. From fans, from critics, from the media. And even now, after a historic win, the noise hasn't stopped. He said it himself after the race. Some guy today called me a punk. I just laughed. I was like, okay, punks get trophies, I guess. He wasn't angry. He was just done proving himself. But then came the words from Dale Earnhardt Jr., and they hit Bubba right in the heart. Enjoy every second of this, Earnhardt told him on the TNT post-race show. You can prepare for the next one in a day or two, but give yourself 24, 48 hours to have some fun. Wallace nodded, holding back tears. This wasn't just advice. It was permission to feel the weight of the win, to let it out, to celebrate without guilt. You've earned this seat, Steve Letarte added. So damn, raise some hell, have some fun. Wallace heard it, and the crowd heard it too. It was a rare sight, Bubba Wallace letting go. He had his wife Amanda and his young son Bex with him, kissing the bricks, smiling like he hadn't in years. But deep down, he knew what this meant, not just for himself, but for the whole playoff picture. Because with this win, everything changes. Wallace is locked in, no more stress, no more stage point chasing, no more racing scared. As Denny Hamlin, his team owner, put it, now they can race more freely. They're not going to have to chase the 60-car week in and week out. That's such a pain. This was freedom, a reset, a chance to race with nothing to lose. And what's more, this might be the start of something bigger. Wallace didn't just win, he beat the best. Kyle Larson, a former champ and defending Brickyard winner, couldn't find a way past him, twice, on 2 restarts. He had the inside line, he had the composure, he had the fuel, and he had the fight. Wallace wasn't just lucky, he was better. And Larson, he knew it. It's really hard to beat that, Larson admitted. He had the preferred line. There's nothing you can do here to pass. We just executed the best we could. It's rare you hear a rival speak with that much honesty. And even rarer to hear Bubba Wallace respond with grace. I wish I had his talent, Wallace said of Larson, but I'm not jealous. You have to enjoy your journey, and days like this make all the hard work worth it. Game recognizing game. In a sport built on rivalries, this one ended with respect. No fists, no feuds, just 2 racers giving everything they had, and the better man won. But here's the twist. Behind all this glory, 2311 is still caught in a legal storm with NASCAR. The team is part of a contentious lawsuit with the sport's governing body. It's been tense, uncertain, distracting, and yet, in the middle of that chaos, Bubba Wallace just gave them their biggest win of the year. He shut out the noise, shut down the critics, and lit the match for what could be a fiery playoff run. So now we ask, is this Bubba Wallace's turning point? Is this the beginning of something bigger? Or is it just a flash in the pan, a single firework before the storm returns? You tell me. Has Bubba Wallace finally silenced the doubters? Or are the loudest voices still waiting for him to fall? Drop your thoughts below. Because after this weekend, one thing is certain. NASCAR will never look at Bubba Wallace the same way again.